This morning, I had the privilege of interviewing two different personalities back to back for future podcast release, each so distinct from the other, but whose life journeys shared one thematic overlay. The first, Steve Ryback, is a Las Vegas police officer who discovered his Jewish heritage a number of years back while already on the force. He fought a multi-year legal battle for permission to wear a yarmulke and grow a beard, and has since become known as the kosher cop. The second guest, Liel Leibovich, is a ninth-generation Israeli whose ancestors include the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. His own immediate family had drifted somewhat from that sanctum out to the beaches and modern Israeli life of Tel Aviv. Through his young adulthood, Liel earned a master's and doctorate at elite U.S. universities and was living the dream as an NYU professor and public intellectual of note. He began experiencing misgivings with the world of academia and legacy journalism, and over time shifted towards alternative mediums, where he now writes extensively for Tablet and co-hosts the Unorthodox podcast. Along the way, he began engaging in the Jewish ritual and study that he had avoided for the first decades of his life, but that had been central to his larger family story. The impassioned case he made on my podcast for traditional Jewish observance in the modern world rivaled that of any rabbi I have heard in both content and fervor. Each of these men, one a salt-of-the-earth law enforcement officer in Middle America with almost no Jewish background, the other an Israeli expat from a celebrated religious family and a product of elite cosmopolitan institutions, found their way back to their roots, an inextinguishable spark flaring into a fully fanned flame. This week we read about the Ner Tamid, the ever-present lamp lit daily in the temple. Each day, drops of only the purest olive oil would be added. The sages explain that this ubiquitous light reflects God's constant presence in the world. Likewise, Rabbi Naftali Reich shares, each person as a miniature temple also possesses this unending inner glow. How can we quiet voices of cynicism and human limitation around us? How can we find our way back to an inheritance that for many of us has been locked away? How can we regain our footing and rediscover a spiritual radiance after a years-long pandemic? By closing our eyes and embracing our internal light, that spark of God we call the neshama, the soul, which may be dimmed but never extinguished. That light is a guiding force that illuminates a spiritual path, pointing the way when we are confused or torn. The Ner Tamid, that ever-present candle, represents our most human and most aspirational sense of being. Find it, and you will find your greatest self. Shabbat Shalom.